sókè pamọ́. Mountain back to Atlantic Ocean. Obomi Hills to Boakai. To educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful Tuesday night, and welcome to FOL. Tonight, the House Saga continues as we await the Supreme Court ruling. Also, while we await, Councillor Gongloe has taken shots. He's taking issues with President Boakai and his involvement in the ongoing Imbroglio. The U.S. ambassador visits the former president, President George Weah. What do we make of that? So joining me tonight to unpack all of this is Father Elijah B. Washington. Welcome, Father.
Thank you, Mr. Nagbe. It's a privilege to be here. I would like to say hats off to our military, to our teachers, to our police officers, to our nurses, our people who, a little bigger resources continue to, live up to their profession as compared to other people who just want to bring our country down. So I just like to say hats off to everything that they do in our country. It's good to be on the show.
Thank you. Welcome, Father. Also helping us to unpack all of this is our resident financial guru, Gabriel. Gabriel Carter. Welcome, Gabe.
Mr. Nagbe, good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Father, let's start with you. Since mid-October, I think October 15 or 17, thereabouts, everything at the Capitol building has come to a standstill. Ever since a number of the lawmakers tried to remove the speaker from his position. As you know, he was out of the country. He quickly hurried back and kind of forestalled that move. And ever since, the stalemate persists. It looks like we're at a loss here as to how to unjam this. And now everything has now ended up in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave an observation. I don't know if it is a ruling, you would tell us, but the Supreme Court told everyone to return to status quo ante, go back to pre-October 17th or thereabouts. And yet today we saw the 43 conducting an apparent session. But we understand the Supreme Court will be meeting. I mean, the case will be presented tomorrow, and the two sides are supposed to present their argument. What do you make of all this, Father? Are we approaching a crisis in the government?
I mean, it's unfortunate, and it's pretty sad that after 177 years, we should be as a country, we should be the mentor for other countries to look up to. But when we look at our country and see what is going on, it saddens me, you know, to see the saga that's going on in the House of Representatives. But hey, at the beginning of the whole thing, when people were accused of taking money just to remove the speaker, that's where I was having a very strong view and say, hey, these people are taking money to remove the speaker. Is it not bribery? Is it not a crime? But it seems that everybody's forgetting about the money. Everybody's talking about, oh, giving due process, giving due process. So what happens to people who receive money just to remove the speaker? Don't we have anything to say about that? And you know, as Liberians, it's in a way, even they assume they give the speaker due process. But hey, why would anybody who's supposed to be representing our country will be receiving money just to remove the speaker? And that's the first place I was thinking, like, what is going on with our country? That people are being bribed, they give them money, then they put themselves together, and they can just one day come together and just remove somebody from office. And, you know, but I see now the whole argument is about, oh, okay, if you give the speaker a due process, then you can remove him. But what happened to the first instance where people are receiving money just because they have to remove the speaker? Who's giving them the money? Where the money coming from? Why would I investigate who's giving them the money? These are the issues I needed. At first, I thought I was the first issue. Tackle who's giving this money? Where are the monies coming from? Is that what we can investigate? Is that what we can do a forensic investigation to find out who's giving these money to these people so that they can be held liable? Even if it's the president, even if it's the vice president, even if it's members of the House of Representatives, why can't we bring them to book for doing this kind of thing? But now the whole issue is about giving due process. So if you're giving due process, therefore you can remove him. But the end does not justify the means. So if you at the end of the day you remove him because you have the numbers, how did you get to the numbers? How did you arrive at that? What was the means by which you used to get that number? There are people who stay receiving money from. So for me, that's where the crux of the matter is, and that's where we need to start from. Instead of going this whole issues about the due process, giving due process. But I go back to the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court has asked them to put a stay on it. Go back to status quo where it was before, and then they have a dialogue. Let's sit together and find what the issues are. But the guys that keep saying now, oh, okay, we have 3 branches of government, they are co-equal, even though they could coordinate, but you have no jurisdiction over. So who interprets the law? When there are issues, who interprets the law? It has to be the Supreme Court. So why can't you listen to the Supreme Court? So and that's what I think they are in error, but they already know what they're doing. They already had it back of their mind. This is
do you think we should give them the benefit of the doubt and assume because the case was not started today, so maybe when the case really starts tomorrow, they may actually listen, or you don't think that's going to happen at all?
For me, I think just even the beginning of the whole thing, the fact for me, as an ethicist, when something is at the beginning, if it's wrong, if it's evil, even if the end is good, that's an evil thing. That's a criminal thing. That's so the beginning of the whole saga was criminal, and you know. So even if they go through the process and they get the 49 people and they say, oh, we're giving due process, it still does not make it even legitimate. It does not make it even ethical from my point of view. So I just think that it's just bring our country, just give a bad name to our country. You know, this what people are doing just because of greed. You know, they do this kind of thing. But I think we said it from the beginning that this administration, from day one, I just knew that there was something wrong with this administration. So they just proving themselves. And I just think that it's sad, but that's where we find ourselves.
Thank you, Father. Again, Father Washington makes a great point. I mean, under normal circumstances, that in itself is reason for concern. The fact that people seem to have been motivated by financial benefits to make a move on the speaker. But here we are. Have we come to that point now where we have to choose between 2 evils and take sort of the better of 2 evils? You know, pay the blind eye to the alleged, you know, financial, you know, motivation to remove the speaker, and now focus primarily on making sure they do it right? Or do we think somewhere down the road we'll come back to that matter? The LACC might, because we heard rumors that I mean, in the early days of this thing, we heard, you know, some musings about it, LACC lifting that case, but we don't hear that anymore. Have we forgotten that entirely? or do you have a feeling first things we're putting this in the pecking order of first removal being done right, and then we come back to the financial implications?
I think everything I wanted to say, Father said it already, but I think there's a little bit of probably few points that I actually differ with him, and I think this is, um, he comes from a religious background, so he like I would expect everything to be moral. If it's ethical, this is the right thing to do, which is true. This is how normally this is what we want for our society. But the reality is, politics is dirty. There's nothing ethical about those people in that chamber that we see every day. There is nothing more about them. There, from what we've seen so far, everything is driven by self-interest, right? So it takes that moral compass out of it. It takes any bit of ethics out of it, even though this is what we would like to see. I said it here before, and I will say it again. I will continue to say it. In as much that we may not like what is happening or the process in which it's happening, what this is doing to our democracy is that it is testing every tenet of its its foundation, right? Post-war, the kind of democracy we want to build, this is testing it. And I'm glad that the Supreme Court actually stepped in. This is what they're supposed to do, come in, instill order. And I agree with you, Father. Go back to the beginning when it happened. Was there any money involved? Who got the money involved? The reason why I think they should really go after the money part of it is that we do not want a country where money influences what happens in our body of politics, right? In that case, the average person who does not have access to money, who doesn't have money, will not have a voice in politics. We will become literally what happened in America here, where those who have money controls what happens in politics, right? So I think we should go back to that, investigate it, and if even there are allegations that we're hearing that the president is behind some of these things that are happening, right? So the question becomes, I think, from a fundamental standpoint, why do they want him out? Who wants him out, right? Where is the money coming from? And why the technicality here is who wants him out and why do they want him out, right? And where's the money coming from? And again, I keep saying this, the kind of politics that we have in Liberia, if we continue down this path, it won't be a country where the average person has a voice, So I agree with you that we do need to go back to the fundamental, the very beginning of why this group want the speaker out and who's actually putting the money behind it. There is a legitimate way to go about removing someone, which is, I think you kind of alluded to. Do it the right way from the beginning, and no one will have a qualm. Now, in as much that I think that's how it's supposed to be done, as we all know, if you're a parent, there's always that problem child, right? There's always that one person, there's always that group that would test you to the limit. And I think this is a group that is testing our democracy. And I think the better outcome, the upside to this, the way I think we should look at it, is that it will help us amend our constitution, right? Meaning if there's a loophole that they're exploiting, which I think there are a couple of loopholes that they continue to exploit, we can amend those constitution based on the outcome of what the Supreme Court, decide to do. But I think this is something that is unavoidable. Even if we amend the constitution, this is going to happen again. Down the line, people are going to become clandestine and they're going to come up with some kind of, some of this behavior. And it's imperative for growing our democracy. But I don't like the way that is actually happening. But I think it's needed to test our democracy. Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe. Father, you started off, with the whole question of, the motivation, and should we take a closer look at who stands to benefit from all this? In the early days of this removal saga, the CDC filed a press release, a release, I believe, accusing the government of trying to remove the speaker. But there are also people who are claiming that the former president may see the speaker as a threat and may have actually been, you know, kind of supportive of the initial moves to remove him, even though of late now, we've seen that he seems to be, you know, trying to kind of, you know, balance things out. But let's look at this here. Does the current president stand to benefit more than the former president, or vice versa, if the speaker is removed, in your understanding?
I don't think the CDC and the former president seem to give anything from allowing this quote unquote CDC speaker to be removed. So I don't know where they got this idea. Probably, I don't know the thing about they just thought that he was aligned to this government and removing him would have been the way out. And they just found out, oh, maybe this action we're taking is not the right action because it's not going to help us. Now that I see that he's I mean, why is he now going to see the speaker? This thing has been around for over 3 months. Why did he call the CDC people? Why did he call the speaker? Why did he say, you know, I'm here to support you? And I just know that if Judge Weah had called members of his party and say, hey, we're going to stand behind and for anti-Kofa, he would have been removed. I just think that CDC would have stood their ground and they would have removed the speaker. But for him to now trying to allow the speaker and try to say he's supporting him, I don't know what is coming from. I don't want to jump to judgment, but I don't think that, for me, I think probably CDC in the beginning wanted the speaker out, hoping that they might get somebody in that is going to probably do the things they wanted that the speaker, quote unquote, wasn't doing. Now they found out that the speaker hey, if we remove the speaker, it's Unity Party who's going to gain. I can see Unity Party trying to go to gain, and that's what the Unity Party wants. That they can have a speaker who is a Unity Party, a partisan, and that can really have their goal. But the fundamental thing is all the things removing speaker. Everybody say, oh, it's going to have the agenda of the president. It's just enable the more stealing in the country. I don't see anything about enabling. If all Liberians are saying, hey, we want our country to improve. We want our country to be better. It doesn't matter which party you come from. It doesn't matter which ethnic group you belong to. We all belong to the same. We want the same goal. See, if the goal is that to make our country better, it doesn't matter whether you are a citizen speaker or a Unity Party speaker. You want the good of the country. But if you found that people are doing these things, it's not doing it for the good of the country. It's not doing it so that the president will achieve his goal. It's doing it for their own personal benefits. And so these people are living. They are just living on the poor. They're finding they're living on the poor people. That's not happening. So the thing that removing the speaker, Kofa will be the way that they can just do the things that we're doing, business as usual. And, nobody's going to stop them. Nobody's going to question some of the things they are doing. And I think there's a reason why the Unity Party. I think this government wants to remove Flanty Kopa, and I think that people from the CDC just kind of had their own missteps, and they in the beginning supported. Now they're finding out, hey, probably we made a wrong step. And the other thing is that, where is this going to end? Do we think that if Ford and Cllr leaves today, this is the end? This is not the end. Because at the end of the day, the motivation, like you said, is money. Right. So if somebody else comes with that money, they might move the next speaker, and the next speaker, and the next speaker. So it becomes a virtual cycle. That's why I see when my brother kind of talked about testing our democracy. I don't know, but what is this really a test? A test. I think it should be a test with ideas, a test with things that is going to improve our country. But when people begin to just go somewhere and say, hey, let's just get some money. If somebody say, if you guys give me $40,000, I'll show you I'm going to stand in line, I'm going to support you. And that's the way we're going to test our democracy and then decide. But people cannot stand up. And, like I said, yeah, I agree that politics is a dirty game. But, hey, don't we also have kids? Don't we have children? Are we not fathers? What do we show to our kids? What kind of person you stand out there? If you're telling your child in the house that, hey, be an honest person, and you as a legislator, you're not earnest, but how can your kids learn from you? Even though we know that politics is a dirty game, but can you not stand up for yourself and say, hey, I want to be a person so that my kids can look at me tomorrow and say, I'm proud of my dad, or I'm just proud of him that he comes from work and brings money home? No, but I'm proud of him because of his character, that he stands for something. But yeah, I mean, they don't care.
Yeah, And
As
basically,
you come in, let me throw you a little bit more bone, and I wanted you to spend a few minutes again on.
Yeah.
Let's help us understand really what is CDC. Okay, so the CDC, they call themselves the mighty CDC, right? I mean, I think about a year or so ago, it was unheard of for a sedition to defy, Weah. You know what I'm talking about? But when it started, first of all, we saw Fala on the stage with the current speaker, with Speaker Kofa, and the president was on the phone trying to FaceTime the two of them. We saw the Speaker Kofa dismiss, kind of downplayed that call, didn't take that call. Then we understand about 11 or so of the seditions, as Father Washington is pointing out, joined the UP and other people very brazenly to sign on to the removal plan of the speaker, who is a sedition. I mean, we're talking about P. Mike Jury, Thomas Fala, and all of them. And these people were suspended from the CDC. But now we heard the president is now trying to do a meeting with these people. What is happening here? Is the CDC fumbling? Are they losing their grip on? I mean, what is going on here? How do you see this thing playing out, Gabe?
And I agree with the father again, and I think he may have stated that, earlier, or he may have alluded to that. I think the CDC may have fumbled here, and the reason why I agree with the father is because sometimes when money get involved in these kind of situations, decision gets clouded, and sometimes you don't really look at the whole chessboard. You only look at the piece that you're moving instead of looking at the whole decision tree. If I do this, what's going to happen next? If this happened, what is that going to lead to, instead of looking at the end result? So I think when money gets involved, people's decisions get clouded in terms of them thinking logically about the long-term implication of some of these decisions that they're making. So I think their support, CDC support of trying to remove the speaker was a misstep. And I think they figured that out in terms of going back to what the father said. Right. Let's go back to this fundamental here.
Right.
Why do we even, who's supporting this guy's removal? Why do they want him removed? Right? Those are basically from an ethical standpoint or from a logical standpoint, those are the things you'll start asking. Who wants him removed? Why do they want him removed? Is he in a way of, the president's agenda for which they want him removed? Or is there got to be a reason. And for them, I think they should have thought about that before supporting this the Unity Party in his removal. And I think they realized that later on that, this was a misstep. And I think the president coming in, trying to will them back in together to say, hey, you guys are doing the wrong thing. If we do remove this guy, it's going to be costly for us,
So you think the president he didn't know that when he left to go get his Ballon d'Or, whatever it was, why this crisis was brewing? You understand me? Why did these people were leaving the reservation? The president was somewhere else, having a just right? All of a sudden now he's realizing, hey, this egg is about to crack in our hands. Let me get back. Do you think, and this is three of us here, we're not going to restrict the topics. Do you think the U.S. Embassy is trying to reinforce this president by first going to him, make it look like he's still very powerful in the country? Oh, Mr. President, we need you back on stage. Go back and rally your troops and all of that. You think this is what is happening here? Why do you think the U.S. Ambassador wanted to see him before? Because he was able to march from 9th Street to the Capitol building. That didn't happen. Because I think because of that meeting, then we heard he was meeting, Zinanoma and all these other people, the sedition and all of that. Thomas Fala was a no-show today. We don't understand what is happening. What is happening here again?
So for me, there's only one logical thing I can attribute to this is that or it could be the other way around. In as much as that we think the speaker, I mean what's the guy's name? The representative actually going to meet with Weah. It could have been Weah actually calling him to.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think it's internet.
Gabe is on.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, you were frozen there for a minute, but you're back with us.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what I was saying is that it could be the other way around. It could be Weah himself initiating that call again to, put a perception out there that he has some kind of influence, which again, between you and I and everybody else in the public, it is working. People, when they saw him out there with the, I keep forgetting his name. They think that it buys him a little bit of time, not just time, but it buys him a little bit of influence in terms of this whole saga.
Right.
Right. So I think I'm looking at it at the other way around, that we are initiating that conversation to
start these talks.
I think this is just grand.
Let me put it to Father. Father, do you think this? You think the president, former president, you think he finally got Fonati where he wanted him? Initially, you think maybe Fonatife is a big boy, he didn't need him, remember the phone call, blah, blah, blah. And now he finally got Fonati to realize, I may not be that big after all. I actually need your Weah to come and help me out here. You think the president now is feeling that Messiah role? He's coming now to, be the white knight and save Fonati, and therefore, having extracted from Fonati that he's not going to embarrass him come 2029, he needs to sit down in a corner. Right now, he's going to save him and, save the day. You think this is what is happening here?
I mean, yeah. A little bit of what you just said and a little bit of the other side. And this is the other side. If I was in the shoe of Fonati at this time, why am I entertaining Josh Weah?
Because Fonati apparently he can't get the boys back on the reservation. You got over 10 of them with the UP people. He needs that 10. If you add it to the 30 he has, he has a quorum, right?
I don't think Fonati has any way to get back. No matter whether Josh Weah just tried to grandstand. He's just trying to put his weight so they can say, he tried to help Fonati to get back, but it didn't work. But that's what I just see in the whole thing. I don't see how he's going to help Fonati to be able to come back, because these guys who are already on the other side, I don't know how much more money you're going to give them to get it.
Then they die. Yeah.
So, to me, he's like, okay, let me just go there and just show the people that, hey, I tried to help Fonati and it didn't work, but at least I was by his side. And, when the Unity Party people tried to remove him, but from day one, Fonati always wanted your support. And when he came back from Rome, when he had that press conference, he even mentioned how he support Josh Weah, and I lost Josh Weah was going to be in the, he was not.
Yeah, but Father, when he came back, who gave him the biggest hug? Wasn't it Thomas Fowler? And then what happened 2 days later? Didn't Thomas Fowler leave him and join the 43? I mean, the speaker, when he came back,
yeah, ahead, he does speak highly of Thomas Fowler. He does speak highly of him, he's a very intelligent guy. And in as much as he might have been hearing things from the other side that, people are after you, even your own people. He didn't want to come. He didn't want to come on the public and say, I know Fowler is behind me. I know Josh Weah is behind me. No, so you got to get a good pay. You get a face that these people are. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing that I can see to show that they want me removed. And to set the face. But probably he knew at the back of his mind that, hey, if I belong to CDC, how will my own CDC people want to be coming after me?
Exactly.
And why would they be supporting other people against me? So for Josh Weah now to say he's going there now to try to help, talk to his people. They didn't have a meeting before. One time at the party headquarters where he named the deputy speaker, and he went there. He said he was not supporting the other group. He was still supporting Volonté Copa.
But Father, doesn't it surprise you that up to now, the CDC has now unleashed the Muya Brigade. Where is coaching all this?
That's the reason why I'm saying that what Josh Weah is doing is just grandstanding. He just trying to, show.
Thank you, Gabe. Yeah. Let me tell you some of the whispers that we're hearing. Yeah. Apparently in the initial stage of the thing, Thomas Fowler felt he was going to be a shoe-in. But apparently as a speaker. Yeah. And so I think he entertained that for a moment, but I think the U people told him, no, we're not going to settle on you. And apparently, having realized that, the CDC is realizing then that, oh, this is not going to come back to us. If we remove Kofa, we could have lost this powerful position. I mean, the speaker position is very powerful, but there is a very good chance that this is not coming back to us. And we're hearing this is what is now galvanizing the CDC to try to rally and support Fonati. We understand that's one of the reasons why they used the white ballot. They didn't take a vote because Fada would have lost the position. Belete could have even taken the position from Kun, and the UP people wanted to secure that position, but they were not prepared to vote for Fada. So they compromised. So you remove your deputy speaker, but the speaker position goes to UP. These are the whispers we're hearing. I don't know if you're hearing.
So I think if that is true, any iota of it is true, I think that is a beautiful chess game that the United Party played. Now the logic behind that is, why do they want the speaker position? Why do they want that? Is it going to allow them to pass any bill that they have in the House of Representatives or in the Senate? Is that the reason why? Again, it goes back to why they want this guy, this Fonati, removed. He's not opposing anything the president's putting forward, right? Yeah, I don't think I've seen him oppose any bill or any thing that the president is doing. The only thing I could think about here is that some of in as few as they are, some of the things, the development wise that are happening in the country, eventually, if he remains the speaker, and comes 2029, when Unity Party begin to talk about the success of this administration, you know what? He was a speaker. He never opposed any of their agenda. He has the right to lay claim to some of these things. Hey, I stood with these guys to do this, to do that, to do that. And for them, it would be a kind of it would take away from some of the clout or political, point that they were trying to, by in 2029, come 2029 election. So for me, the only logic is that let's remove him. Comes 2029, when we begin to, tell the citizen some of the developmental agenda that we were able to carry on, some of the things we were able to do. The CDC, regardless of how we want to think about them, they're powerful. They will have no voice because they don't have a speaker who can actually lay claim to some of these things that we were able to do. I think that is the only reason why the United Party wanted to take him out. Just get rid of him now to allow anything we want to do to go fluently. And also comes 2029, the CDC cannot lay claim to anything that we're able to do during this 5 or 6 years term. For me, if that is the ploy that they're actually going with, then I think it's a beautiful, well laid out ploy.
Right.
But I think they may have, they still have the CDC to contend with. And I think the end result here is what they are doing with our democracy, which is it's become like a laughing stock across.
No, absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree with you. We seem to preach, we seem to profess to practice democracy, but we seem to believe democracy is only by elections, right? All the other things that accompany, a functioning democracy, as for instance, the respect for the rule of law, respect for the press and all of that. We found most of those, So I hear you when you also say the CDC. I mean, the UP might still be coming after the position because, as much as Kofa is doing some of their bidding, the whole is better than half. I think they want the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
As opposed to Kofa giving a little piece. But let's come back again. Let's leave the politics. If I want to come in,
I want to contribute to something that Mr. Carter said, which I think is part of, and I think was a beautiful analysis because CDC were the one who started lighting the fire.
Yeah.
Their own speaker. They were the one who lighted the fire. And then Unity Party people started saying, CDC people keep saying that, the speaker, even though he's from CDC, but he keep aligning with Boakai. He keep aligning with Boakai. Why would he want to align with Boakai? He wants Boakai to achieve so that it looks like the Unity Party is doing better than us. So they didn't want to start the fire. So when the Unity Party started sensing it, they said, if CDC people are trying to move their own, then join them. So when CDC they got to a point now, they said, it's not that fire we started now. It's sketchy. We want to turn it back off.
Very beautiful. Beautiful.
It's not a controlled burn anymore. This is a wildfire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's already led. So now they want to put it on the can.
You know what it is, man. Democracy can be messy sometimes.
That's
Right?
you, Father. You put it perfectly. That
Yeah.
is the best logic out there. That is it. I think that's
But
all.
thank you, gentlemen. You know, there were three of us. We're not gonna, we're not going to compartmentalize the topic. We just go all over there, all around the place. So let's come back to a little bit of legal and procedural, questions. Councillor Tiawan Gongloe, he's highly respected. He's a legal scholar, and he's also a politician. He's a former presidential candidate for the LPP, my sister UPP organization. He endorsed his vice president endorsed I think this president. I'm not sure whether Councillor Gongloe did. I believe he did. Anyway, but his former running mate is now heading, I believe, the
EPA.
EPA. Is it the EPA?
Yep. He said, what's his name? Paulo.
So
EPA.
So in some sense, he has a stake in this government because his campaign is represented in the government. But he has not minced words when he thinks things are not going right, including this one. There is press reporting that he has come out very strongly, accusing the current presidency of being behind, all of this, and he cited instances, for instance, remitting the current budget, to the 43 through the clerk, and he is very clear that he think the president is being ill-advised. Father, I want you to take a stab at this. On the show, we've debated over and over. There are some of us on the show who believe that, this is all about the rule of law. And then there's some of us who believe this is about the number. The speaker has lost the numbers. He should give it up, give up the ghost and let it go. But now the speaker seems to be getting some real serious people behind, in his corner, arguing not necessarily about the speaker as opposed to the process that is being used to unseat him, including now Councillor Gongloe. What do you make of his injection into this matter?
I love Councillor Gongloe a lot. He used to be my parishioner whilst he used to be my parishioner whilst on the old road at Gaeta. He's a very staunch parishioner at that parish, and I know him very well. I used to visit his office, and he's one person who I have a great admiration for. And if there was one person I needed to vote for in Liberia, would have been Councillor Gongloe. And I think he's spot on when he talks about what the president is doing, that he's behind this whole thing. And like for me, people, you see, I'm not a lawyer, so I really not like to go into this whole thing about. I'm an ethical person. So for me, I think if it's not done well from the beginning, it's not done anyway.
Right.
And that's where I'm coming from. So to saying that that it's gotten this to this point where is to follow the legal process. What is this legal process? And I agree with Mr. Carter. He said, Father, it's not about politics. It's just about politics. It's more not about. But sometimes like if somebody not in the legislature have gone and received money from somebody else, wouldn't they take them to court? Wouldn't they arrest them? And wouldn't they ask them questions about where did you get the money? Why did you get this money? And the act itself is screaming, "Oh, we're going to prosecute you." It's because now it's the House of Representatives and nobody can ask them. Now we start asking more about the legal legal process. But for me, I just think that the Unity Party is behind it now.
Mm-hmm.
That's people lit the fire. The Unity Party is taking advantage of it.
But Father, some will argue, right, as you make your point, some will argue that you what is it? As you make your bed, so shall you lie on it, or something like that. That Speaker Kofi is one of those people who normalized what people calling like real cash violence, right? To get to political office. I understand he spent considerable amount of money himself to get to this position, and now his own system is coming back to bite him. Well, the system that he encouraged and nourished.
Well, it seems to be that's been the pattern. And, wanting to be a speaker, the way to go about it is, get some people, give them some money, and let them support you. So for me, I just like to go, where are we now? And what have I seen now? Yeah, it might have happened in the past. This state does not justify it, you know? So if they're doing it in our state, does not stay, you know, make it good, or if stay, she might have said, oh, he did it, so it's supposed to be done to, you know. I mean, life, I know sometimes we they say the karma, what you did was come after you. But if we now want to change it, if we want to change it,
right,
that up and change it. And you know, we should that and
yeah,
that's
draw the line somewhere, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, sorry,
Right.
Father. Go ahead when you're done.
So for me, like Gongloe really made a point, and I think he was spot on. And I think this president also the United Party. But I said that she just started it. United Party is doing it, and they want to get it. They in it, and they want to make sure that they achieve their goals. And like, what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is not just about people talking about the agenda of the United Party, yeah, but sometimes you just know criminals are just behind it, and they want you to be able to grease themselves more. If they have somebody who is from the United Party as a speaker, they can be able to use that person to be able to grease themselves and get what they want, but at the expense of the poor people. So, yeah, Boakai wants to achieve, but to what end? And you know, what else is going to be there for the poor people? You just pass a budget. You look at the budget. Nothing fundamentally has changed. Right. So that tells you.
Gabe, Father is, you know, looking at, let me tell you some of the arguments I'm hearing from Monrovia, that the team President Boakai has been practical. The 43 have the required 47, all right, to constitute a quorum for business, right? And I think the president has been practical because the current speaker does not have the 37. And therefore, if you were to submit a budget to him, it will be there and just languishing. I mean, these are some of the things that we're hearing. But Councillor Gongloe, you know, he believes otherwise. He thinks that the way this administration has inserted itself into this saga, I mean, there are a lot of instances. For instance, the president, we know October 29th, he wrote the speaker, right, requesting more time to submit the budget. And then a week or two later, he said he was going to consult his lawyers, you know. And then after the consultation, he comes back and directs the budget to the chief clerk. Many people thought he had already begun tipping the scale. Then we're hearing this, that he actually called Representative Kuhn, the other speaker, to congratulate him. Not only did that, now we're seeing that his convoy has been reinforced, you know, brand new cars, whether he bought it himself or the government gave it to him, but he got bodyguards, and all of that is signed to him now. To many people, this is an indication of approval by the executive, or kind of not tacit and not covertly anymore, but kind of a support to Speaker Kuhn to kind of reinforce his position. And so Councillor Gongloe seems to be arguing that whatever little moral background that this executive would have had to kind of broke up peace in the house, they may have lost it. And maybe this is what the U.S. ambassador is now going to Weah to help him and say, you go and be the adult in the room now and help us stabilize this thing, because this thing is slowly slipping away from us.
Wow. I wish you had put forth that piece of argument from the beginning of this conversation. It would have made sense. It would have brought enough light to this conversation. I initially said allegedly the president was behind this, but I think from what you just stated, it's all on the table.
It's plain view, right?
Right. I alleged earlier that, you know, he may have been behind this, but based on what you just said in terms of how the budget was submitted, in terms of his approval of Representative Kuhn, you know, that is him just circumventing the current speaker and going with where his, you know, the, you know, current guy, Representative Kuhn, as a de facto speaker, you know. So this cannot be an allegation anymore. This is blatant. This is evidence that he was behind this whole process, you know, in as much that we may not be able to say, you know, there's evidence here, but everything is right in the open. In terms of what's his name, Senator Gongloe, or, you know, Councillor Gongloe, right. I think I agree with him. If the president is taking this kind of steps in terms of circumventing the speaker, even though that decision hasn't been made yet to, absolutely remove Speaker Fanati Kofa.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, we have two speakers,
Technically,
right?
yes.
Can we agree with that? Right?
Yes.
Because he has not been removed legally yet, so he's still a speaker. Until then, the president, as a sitting president of the country, supposed to follow the rule of law by setting the example, right? But he circumvented that whole process, submitting a budget through the, current, I don't know if you want to call him the other speaker, improving his security apparatus to which can be seen as a sense of approval, right? So I agree with Councilor Gongloe that this president is and again, this is not allegation anymore. If you look at the mistakes that he's been making, like this is a continuation of his mistakes. I mean, we can go back and name some of the stuff the mistakes he's been making. I agree with Councilor Gongloe that he's ill-advised. He doesn't have a rounded team of legal experts around him to advise him on the Constitution or what needs to happen. If he did, he wouldn't have done this. He would have gone the proper channel. He would have went through the proper channel to go about this. So I think I agree with Councilor Gongloe here. But here's the thing that I think I will have to push back on with the councilor. I think he's part of this government, correct? He's not. I
don't think he's active in the government, but his running mate is in the government.
So it's like a catch-22 here.
So, yeah, technically,
technically he is, right? but if your vice president is in this government, you're criticizing the government. I mean, you're criticizing yourself. But here's what I want to say, and I will yield. The thing here is not to just say the president is ill-advised. I think to just come out and say it's ill-advised, anybody can say that. But as a counselor, we want something tangible from you. Hey, if I were the president or if I were on the president legal team, this is what I would do. This is what some of the things that I would do, right? But to just come out and just blatantly say, oh, this is ill-advised, I think it's, anybody could say that. We want a little bit of substance from you. You're, a former presidential candidate. You're a counselor. So put a little bit of meat on the bone that people can look at and say, absolutely, this person is right. This is what the president should have done. But on the other aspect of it, I think I agree with him. This president has been fumbling, making a lot of mistakes from the legal part, from the economic part, and he's not missing a beat. He's continuing. But again, to yield on father's point, this is why I said politics is dirty. We expect as somebody at the top of the food chain of our country to be a little bit more practical, to be a little bit more ethical. But this is what politics gives, and politics is only made for people that are ready to play in the mud, and they're deep in the mud. Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe. Father, if I remember, one of the arguments that Councilor Gongloe is making, a couple of points. One, I hope I'm not misquoting him, but I think he says what is happening right now is treason. Because the 43 are circumventing the Constitution. And then he worries that if the current president, by his overt support of the 43 and onwards to the election of Speaker Kun, doesn't he fear that tomorrow these very people, not the same ones, but through that same process, they could gather and impeach him as president? Yeah. If they're allowed to get away with this, is this something the president needs to worry about, or is Councilor Gongloe way off base? He's a lawyer. He knows what he's talking about.
I think he knows exactly what he's talking about, and I would say, and I think the president is ill-advised, and that's why I wouldn't want to use a similar language of Mr. Carter when he talks about mistake. This is not a mistake. This is a calculated attempt. This is a thing. This is a plan. This is a plan coup that has been planned from the day after the elections. That the Unity Party had planned this and say, hey, no matter what happens, even though he wins the speakership now, but we will just wait. There's going to come a time where we'll come at him. And even if it's money, we're going to use all our money to get it out. So this is not a mistake. This is a calculated attempt. This is why Unity Party always wanted. And this is what they're going to get. So for me, I think the person is advised, and I think he needs to. And it could come after him. But, he's been dancing this mod for 43 years now. So he knows how to dance in it. So he's playing his game well, and he knows where the money is. So now he's the president. He can find the money, and he can always play his game the way he wants. So it could come after him, but the fact that he has the money and he's the president, he's able to call his cards and be able to get on his side. So it might have hurt you now. Maybe if it was somebody else who was in the Senate or somewhere like Pro-Tem, maybe you say, but now he thinks that he has all the cards. So it's not going to come. It's not going to come and haunt him. He can always find the money and give it to people. All people want is that anybody, like grandfather said, everybody has a price. When they get to that point, people will compromise. And that's why the party, they just say, okay, we go for the opportunity. They find the money. And they bought the people, and today they want to get it figured out. So, for me, I think this whole thing is calculated, and probably people have planned it. They seize on the CDC people agitating by their own speaker, and they were able to use them today. In the future, who knows? Maybe the party will have this speaker, but I don't believe we'll have two speakers. I think we'll have one speaker. It's just that the party, because they are in power. And they have the cars, they have the money, they're able to just push your car where you want it to go, and that's precisely what they're doing now. I'm not sure it's just a black guy was not behind this thing, or the Unity Party was not behind it. They didn't want Kuhn to be speaker. They would be sending budget to the other team. They wouldn't be sending the budget there. The president wouldn't have done it. Yeah, if he didn't. So the calculated thing, they already know. So that's every action that they're taking is based on what has been planned, and that is why they're doing it the way they want to do it. So that's why, for me, they are not making any mistake. It's something that's been planned and something that's implementing.
Thank you, Father. Jimmy, let me welcome you to the show. It's nice of you to join us tonight. We are discussing, of course, the ongoing saga at the Capitol, and then Councilor Gongloe made an input into the matter. We believe the executive is trying to influence the outcome in favor of the 43. And then, of course, we learned the U.S. ambassador visited former President George Weah, and he himself, in addition to that visit, also conducted a series of meetings with his CDC people, apparently in an attempt to help diffuse the tension at the Capitol building. Now, as you come in to make your input, I want you to please speak to us a little bit. Where is this going? We heard that today there were reportings in the various media, OKFM being one of them, that the Senate, which was reportedly beginning to do business with the 43, they came out and clarified and said, no, we have sent no such communication or any instrument to the 43 or the House to be debated upon. That document was sent way back before whatever this thing happened. So if the Senate, it turns out, is going to hold out on doing business with the 43 or Fonati Kofa, is this government not effectively strangulated, meaning the budget and other things?
Well, thank you, and I beg your indulgence for being so late, but there were a few things that got in the way. Yeah, this is classic political theater, what we're looking at right now, and I tend to agree with Elijah that it's not just being ill-advised as much as it is intentional. They lost an election. Okay, the UP lost an election. this same speaker who now was given a white ballot, lost an election, and few months, 4 months, 5 months later,
Right.
rallying his supporters in the legislature to boycott or to not go under the gavel of the legally and duly elected speaker. That is, to me, that is classic brinksmanship. And what the danger is, I think, why people are weighing in, because if you set a precedent that after somebody fairly wins an election, you just boycott. What? So do we not see? Do we not see this happening again and again? Look, since 1980, I've seen that a lot of militant activity has repeated itself. It is almost 40 some more years later, and it's still going on. Okay? This militancy, it is still going on. So what will happen if we now allow something like this to happen? You think it will stop? People will do it all the time, and it may reach as high as the presidency. I think for it's not that people are in favor of Fonati's speakership. No, right now people are concerned that the slim fairness, legal, and stability that we have now, we do not want it jeopardized. That is what's wrong. So if this takes its course and they are allowed to, stonewall the speaker and take him out, this is not classic like how Snow or Tyler's was. This is different. This is where somebody lost an election and then they said that they stopped boycotting going to the assembly. That's how it looks like. So this is not the same thing.
No,
I'm not. Even if they do have points, counts against him. Then definitely they have to allow him, because of the fact that this is the same people who lost the election. They have to allow him his due day in court. He has to be able to defend himself. I think the chief executive, I don't know if he realizes that he's even jeopardizing all stability. All positions are going to be subject to this sort of behavior, and it shouldn't be tolerated, especially if he knows our people. Like I said, since 40 years, they are still doing the same thing again. We can't set a precedent like this. It is wrong, and even if there had been somebody else, like somebody, if they had even an open ballot, no, but what, blank ballot, same person who lost. Come on, this is it may be politics, but it contravenes our constitutionality. So it can't be allowed. So I think we have to stand up against it by all means.
So here's my question to all of you, and you guys might have a better clarity or explanation to that. At this point, where the president isn't doing anything because allegedly he is the one, the head honcho behind all of this, the Supreme Court is, we heard that they came in. We haven't heard any in terms of tangible solution that they're offering. What gives? Who comes in to solve the problem? Who comes in to instill order? If the president isn't doing so, and the Supreme Court, they're supposed to come in, we expect them to come in to instill some level of order, because at the end of the day, this is a democracy. Somebody has to instill order that, hey, you guys are doing child's play here. In as much that you want to go out and play innocent, this is not the right time to do that. This is how things are supposed to go. And from a constitutionality standpoint, this is what needs to happen. Who comes in to instill that order? Because it needs to happen. You know, in as much that I keep saying that this is a test for our democracy, well, there got to be a teacher there monitoring that test to say, hey, you got this answer wrong, you got this one right. This is the way to go. Who comes in to do that?
But Gabe, you remember earlier before Jimmy joined us, we were talking about former President Weah and this apparent messianic mission that he's now seemed to be embarking upon. I mean, honestly, I think the current president has abdicated. You know, I think the president has vacated, you know, that moral ground to broker anything in this current conflict. And I think it was also a missed opportunity the way he interacted with the ECOWAS delegation. That was another opportunity to bring this stream back on course and say, look, guys, you know, you have your grievances for until you have your grievances. Let us try to. That didn't happen. And now he's doubling down with some of the things we talked about, his interaction with Representative Kuhn and all of that. You know, I mean, say what you may about the Americans, but, you know, they read the tea leaves. So maybe they're trying to address your question, and they ran to the former president now and trying to first build him up by going to visit him, you know, at his house. And now all of a sudden we all say, oh, we are still powerful. The Americans are still talking to, you know what I'm saying? So now maybe he is the one who is now coming back on stage to help us right the ship. I don't know, Father. What do you think?
And, you know, this thing, I think we're just kicking the can down the road. It's just Slanty Kopa who is just using the frapping. He's using it, saying everything the truth. By the end of the day, he's going to be removed. So it's just a matter of time, because these guys are already know what they're doing. The Unity Party people, they already have all this thing planned. It's just Flanty who just giving his loud punches just to show that, hey, you know, I'm somebody. You're not just going to push me. I'm a lawyer. By the end of the day.
But Father, though, to your point, I don't disagree with you. I think eventually Fonati may end up losing it. But, you know, interestingly, Fonati now has become, his cause has become, the rallying call for.
Might really be the point that they want to judge where they say, hey, talk to your mercenary. They think you're not getting it. Let him leave.
Right. Yeah. So, but the point, and you're right about that. And I was also adding that apparently now Fonati is now becoming the rallying call for respect for the rule of law. I think the people who are coming to Fonati's support are not necessarily for him to poison Fonati Kofa as much as we draw the line here.
Correct.
You understand me? Yeah, Tyler on a different, Snow on different, but it's the same thing. And so we draw the line. More than that, this seems to be the playbook of the UP. You know, the telecom people. You fire the people, they go to court, the court say, get the ball back. Then you suspend the people. In effect, you do what you wanted to do that the court say you couldn't do. The same thing they're doing here. Jimmy just stayed there here. They went to the election, they lost. And then now, you know, okay, they're finding a little backdoor to bring Kuhn back into the speaker position. And I think this is what is upsetting many people. And they say, wait a minute, you know, you put this little treke on us before, and now you're gonna put this thing on us again. No, we can't let it stand this time. This is some of the reasons why you're getting so much support.
Yeah, that's why I don't want the argument to just be legal. I want the argument to also be ethical. That's where because at the end of the day, that's the root. That's the root of everything. If we can be able, I mean, if I came to you and say, hey, I think Frankie Kofa is not doing well, let's try to remove him. That's a different thing. But when people are being induced by money, people just go get money to people. That's where the whole thing is coming from.
Right.
If yes, somebody just get money and say, hey, we just budget $1 million. We're gonna give you this. Come together, remove this person. It's not going to end. And you know, and that's why
Jimmy, as you come in, Father has a point. I think the 43 have two major things working against them. One, maybe not all of them, but they have in their midst people who have reportedly taken money.
Correct.
I mean, we remember Luther, I think Luther Collins or whatever is the recording, right? That is still out there in the air. And then their procedural roadmap that they're taking. Those are the two things they got working against them. This whole not having a 43 and going to be holed up at a hotel, and they can't seem to get a number, and they can't seem to give in and come back to the Capitol building. And now he also mentioned the absence of due process for Speaker Kofa. I think those are the things that many people are holding against the 43.
Yeah, this. I mean, if Liberia survives after this, it would be a miracle, because we are right now shaking the very foundation of what our republic stands on. That's what we're trying to shake now. The very pillars that are the foundation of our democracy, and the very veracity of our Constitution. We're ready to now start shaking it, and we shouldn't allow it, simply because it will happen again. And that's the dangerous part of this whole thing. But by right, when I take a step back and look at this, if anybody's supposed to be speaker, it shouldn't be the same guy, and let alone with a white ballot.
At least
just give it him. Yeah. So it's what we are seeing. I don't see any good coming out of it. I don't know why. We talk about the cash violence. We talk about people being bribed in the first place. We talk about not even allowing someone to the proper forum to even defend themselves, even though they use technicalities that we wrote them 7 times. There was no response. But no, there have been opportune time to come tell him in his face, this is the things we're doing wrong, and we do it. Then there's been this whole thing about just no voting, just usher in a new speaker. There's so many things against all of this that we're going on. All right. And let's face it. In the middle of this, we saw a budget, right? A budget that will not change our lives. They will not change the livelihood of the Liberian people, because it's too little. Most of the money is going toward fat salaries, buying cars, buying gas for the people who already have the highest amount of salary in the country. We buy all kinds of things for them. Okay, we see a budget that is not going to do anything. Then we see these guys playing around amongst themselves. It is setting a stage, and then this is why some people are trying to get involved, because they know what this thing leads to. It's as if they're right now they're power drunk. They figure they can do anything because they're in power. We tell them, say, you should be making all these salaries. They give themselves more. It's all right. They get themselves more money. We tell them, say, these things, they get us $150,000, $100,000 each more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
from 30,000 to 150,000,
Exactly. So right now it's as if they're power drunk, and they did not understand that where this might lead. And of course, Liberian people, we all want peace, but what they're doing now will compromise peace if they don't be very careful. And this is why people trying to step in and say, y'all can't do things like this.
I have a question to Mr. Carter asked. I love this question. So let's spin the scenario. Guys receive probably, let's say, 40,000, 50,000, 50,000 each, and it can be proven that they received this amount. Now, then they gave Kofa the quote-unquote legal process. They take him there, they go there, they listen to him, he recruits himself, they at the end of the day, they vote and they remove him. And so, does that justify that he was given the legal process and he went through everything? And
let me tell you my theory, right?
Yeah.
My theory is this, Father, and I know you've raised this question since we started tonight, which is a legitimate question. How is it that money is being used to influence this process and nobody is saying anything about it? So my theory is this, because I think you're concerned about the ethical implication of it. I think the powers that be, now that we are establishing that, they seem to be leaning more toward the 43. You know, the 43 are the one who allegedly took the money, and they know that. So to go after the 43 is to undo what they're trying to do.
All right.
And therein lies your conundrum.
I got another theory about this. About they realize now the fact that bribery took place.
Yeah.
Sanctions are looming. And so they're trying to sweep that under the rug. Nobody at all. It's, you know, it's like society bush. Nobody talking about it.
Nobody talks about it anymore, Jimmy. No.
Yeah. Nobody talks about it. I expect the Justice Ministry to have gone after something like this. Say bribery took place. There would have been an investigation.
And not only that, Jimmy, as you make your point, when the speaker made his first appearance on the air, he loved it. He loved additional allegations, room 1026 or whatever at the Boulevard Hotel. Remember that, all of that. But nobody says anything about them.
And there's no investigation, no inquiry, nothing. I'm telling you, where we have reached, the group we got right now is beyond impunity. This is beyond impunity. They absolutely figure they can do any single thing they want to do.
No, Jimmy, now they're doing it already. They didn't just figure it out. They're already doing whatever they want and get away with it. Basically, that's where we are. Yeah.
So it will. But from my experience in my short life, it backfires. You know, when you don't listen to the people, when you play deaf ear, to deaf ear, then it has a way of blowing up in your face. You know, people are talking. I'm not sure. I mean, if you go around Monrovia, everybody's aware of this thing that's going on, and everybody's aware that it's not working in anybody's favor. You know, some people try to say, the speaker doesn't want to leave the thing, or everybody they agree. It's not. That's not my concern. Whether whoever becomes speaker, but if we're going to simply allow somebody to be pushed out of a legitimately elected position, then that can happen to anybody, and that is what we should be afraid of. That's the point. That's the point.
Gongloe is also making, Jimmy. That if they can do this, who is to stop them from impeaching the president?
Exactly.
Someday, yeah.
So here's my point here.
Oh, Gabe, I was just coming to you. As you make that point, let me ask you this, you know, and I hope you don't forget your point. But Jimmy is making the point that you know, this is the fabrics of our society, right, are all crumbling. How is it that little guys like us, little guy like Jimmy, can see this? And doesn't the president see this? I mean, we'll all bear the brunt of this, but I think he stands to bear the greatest brunt from this looming collapse. I mean, this is serious business. There's imminent danger that's hurtling towards us. How is it the president doesn't and his people don't seem to realize this? Or do they know? I don't know, but go ahead, please.
That is a good question, because I think it adds to exactly to what I wanted to say as well. And I think sometimes we think people in politics are like, you know, people who have vision, who can see things play out, but more importantly, look at the long-term implication. The point that I was trying to make here is that, which I think may answer your question as well. With everything that is happening in this government, the president is a lame duck. The Supreme Court, technically, we can call them a lame duck as well. And Weah is the only one who seemed to be, I don't know if he's using this as a political, trying to gain political point, But this is it goes to the question that you ask. This could cost the Unity Party 2029 election if they even had a chance, right? The reason why I'm saying is because if you, as a sitting president, cannot solve the problems within your current government, and it take an ex-president, whether he means well or not, or he's just doing this as a show off to gain political point and trying to bring some type of influence into this as well. If he's able to use that, even from a perception-based perspective, and people buy into that, this is going to stick to them. It's going to stick with them comes 2029, right? And I think somebody mentioned sanction here as well. If we can even stoke fear into these people that because there were money involved into this, I can open an international investigation to expose this government, because we know, I think we talked about this here, we know exactly where that money is coming from. We know who's paying for this. If I can bring some level of clarity investigation to prove from an international standpoint where this money is coming from, regardless of my political past, people would now see me as someone who is more serious about democracy, unlike the sitting president and the current administration, right? And that could forget the political point. It could buy him the whole 5 years. People will not forget about this, and he could campaign on that. And this could hurt the United Party comes 2029. But I don't think they're looking at it from that standpoint. That Weah now has a lot of political capital. The CDC has a lot of political capital because of what is happening. And if they were able to resolve this thing quicker enough, they would take that ammunition out of their hands and gain the momentum that they had, if there were any. But that's the long-term implication that I think Unity Party isn't looking at here. For them, they're just looking at the win. Here we can sit here, write this out, get the speaker out, and what else? But are you looking at the long-term implication that you can solve the problem right now, and somebody, an ex-president, is coming in, even from a perception standpoint, trying to pursue to pretend that he can solve this problem? And if he was smart enough, he could say, you know what, I will call for international investigation to remove money from our body of politics, to open up investigation to see where this money comes from. Guess what that does right now? What that would do? It will give these people, the whole Muya crowd, the noise they wanted to make to ride it out all the way to 2029.
So, Gabe, you just introduced an entirely new angle that I hadn't considered. And Jimmy and Father Washington, I'm coming to you. I want us to spend the last few minutes speculate on what we think the Supreme Court is going to do, because they're coming to to court tomorrow. But Gabe, do you think that even if the CDC people wanted to cooperate with the former president in resolving the matter, but now the fact that if they did and he did help to resolve this thing, that he could take credit for it and use it as a political capital for 2020. So now they're even going to try and muddy the water so he doesn't succeed. When that happens, then where does that leave this whole thing? I mean, are we doomed?
And again, this is why I keep calling for, and you guys know better than this than I do. And from a political standpoint, I'm not a you probably know better than this. You're a political analyst.
No, Father and Jimmy do. I don't.
The point that I keep making here, and I will continue to make this, is that if you have two kids in a house who are constantly fighting, there comes a time where you got to step in and solve that problem, right? In this case, as a parent, you will come in and solve that problem, meaning trying to find out what is happening between the two, right? But if you're favoring in a case where you are the person in the house, but you're just silent, you're not saying anything, and you're seeing the fight going on, in this case with the president, where he is just lame duck, not saying anything at all, because we know why he is quiet. You and I both know why he is quiet, why he's not doing anything. I think somebody alluded to LACC trying to do an investigation. That went silent as well. Nothing became.
No, but please tell us why he's quiet. We don't want to assume anything. Why do you think he's quiet?
With all indication, I believe he is the one who is behind the removal of the speaker. Absolutely. The fact that he is siding with Representative Kuhn, the fact that he put the budget through with not through the Speaker for Nati Kofa. It's a vivid indication, vivid evidence of where his allegiance lies, right? So if you go back from to the beginning of this conversation, why do they want him removed, right? Why do they want him removed? So we were speculating that, but based on these actions, it is clear that this is where that intention is coming from. So for me, the point that I'm trying to make here is that at some point, who trumps this whole conversation? Does the Supreme Court steps in and investigate? But then the question to all of you here is, what are the political views of most of the people, the justices in the Supreme Court? If they're mostly unity party leaning, they could just pretend to come in to try to solve problem and don't do anything at all. He could call them off. Say, hey, just like they called off LACC, forget the investigation, don't do anything. We know what we're doing and we'll let it play out. But then again, as much as we watch this party crumble, the average citizen suffers. This is our democracy. You know, I will say this quickly and I'll end. We're supposed to be the nation of first in Africa. We are the oldest democracy on the continent, right? And the fact that we cannot set any kind of standard either from a democracy standpoint, if we can do it from a developmental standpoint, let's show the rest of the continent that we have some level of civility within us in terms of handling our house. But we cannot do that, you know. So the question here is, we have to get the Supreme Court has to step in. If that means they have to, you know, I don't, as I said, I'm not a legal person here. Maybe they step in and you know, sidestep the president and to instill some kind of order, because the ECOWAS came in, nothing happened. We thought ECOWAS was going to instill some level of order. So the question becomes, who does that? You know, I yield.
Thanks, Gabe. Father Washington and Jimmy Eastman. I think Gabe's point is made. So we'll kind of segue into. I think what would be our last. Now he's making a point here, and there are a number of us who were holding out hope that the Supreme Court will intervene, send these people back as they've indicated, go back to status quo ante, and redo this thing. But now, with the former president involvement, it looks like there will be fears now from the executive that if victory is given to Fonati, this could be, it will now become a cost lab or the CDC. They will use this for 20, therefore they will not double down. Instead of giving them this wing, they will double down on Cone. And therefore, the Supreme Court may very well say, you know what? You know, whatever it is, you don't have the number, yada, 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 you know, and we may end up with having Roger Cone as a speaker without Kofa being given due process. What do you think, Jimmy? And then we'll go to Father Washington. Should we worry about this?
Well, tell you the truth, you know,
go ahead.
One thing I know how lawyers argue. They don't argue from one point of view. They always look at both sides, two or sometimes different angles. Let's say they rule in the favor of the newly elected speaker. They say y'all go, what they will say, this is not something the Supreme Court can get involved in. Y'all go resolve the issue. It's a political matter. Y'all go resolve it. That's how they would exonerate themselves from it. And so if they do that, then of course that would give leverage to the majority bloc to continue what they're doing. While on the other hand, if they claim that, oh, this is the removal of the speaker it was not legal, and it should go back ante, then these guys will double down. The majority bloc will double down. They will double down. They will, you know, we've already seen a show of brinksmanship as it is. They will dig in their heels and say, we will not go under the speaker no matter what. They are already prepared to do that. You see? So really, I don't see the Supreme Court resolving this issue. I think this issue has to be resolved from another angle completely. And that will have to be the executive or the or which he's not showing his hand, but it is very apparent that he supported Kuhn before.
Right.
When they were having this election, I heard that they had summoned all the UP legislators to make sure they vote the way they wanted them to vote. Instead, it didn't work. So what we see facing down is a test of our democracy, and I'm not sure what President Weah can do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he has the moral rectitude to be able to positively influence this. But what he can do, he can summon his troops, those legislatures that are.
But he already suspended them, Jimmy. Now, I mean, whatever little authority he had over them, he may have lost it by I don't know. I mean, they're not expelled; they've been suspended. Maybe the suspension may be lifted. Is that what you're implying?
Yeah, well, I heard that he was even going to march down there to see the speaker and all of that. I think we're in for a big surprise, but I do not see the Supreme Court resolving this issue, and it's simply because like I said, the majority bloc, if they lose, they would dig in their heels,
right?
Okay, and if they win, if they say they go back, do what you want to do. That is, there's going to be another alternative that the minority bloc will take. They will look at this as a forceful removal, illegal removal, and there will be some retaliation for it. It's a lose-lose situation.
Father, Jimmy he's plotting threading a pretty delicate point here. The 43 are 43 because they have seditions with them, right? Do you see a possibility where the CDC could exert enough pressure on I think there are about 11 or so of them who joined the UP and other people to make the 43? You know, they were what? I think 42 or less than that until Fala joined. And then, of course, Zena and Bernard Blue, I don't know whether it's sedition, then they joined in, right? Do you think this recent effort on the part of the former president could eventually lead to a reversal of, because we heard some of the people are saying the signatures that they have on this list that elected Kuhn, those signatures, as far as they are concerned, they were committed to a different project, and the signatures are being misused to attain this objective, and they're not for it. Do you see the former president unraveling this 43 eventually and bringing the majority to Kofa?
If there's anybody in Liberia who thinks that Speaker Kofa is they going to be Speaker, you go to bed. There's no way, under no circumstance, that he's going to go back as Speaker. Even if it is $10 that his camp gave these guys, the party will give them $50.
But let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this as you in mid-sentence. So maybe not Kofa, but you heard today Farah was a no-show. Could it be that the CDC is trying to settle on Farah?
Did you hear?
Therefore, take the majority from the UP and bring it back into the CDC?
Did you also hear a few days ago that Fala was intending to join the party because he's from Lofa?
I heard that too.
So there will always be news. There will always be story. Now, I listened to my brother Carter. There were 3 words he used. One, he used the word problem. He's quiet. political capital. There's no problem. For Unity Party, there's no problem here. For them, it's not a problem. Because for them, no matter what happens, even if it means that they were going to lay on the ground and give what they call due process, they will get due process. But from that perspective, it's their due process. By the end of the day, Kofa will never be speaker. Because they will do what if the Supreme Court tells us, say, okay, because they go back and give him due process, they will give me their due process. At the end of the day, they will stay removing. But they're the one going to determine what that due process will be. And the Supreme Court cannot determine what that due process is. If it calls for them to hear his side, they will hear his side. But at the end of the day, they will vote and remove him. The second thing he said, the president is quiet. Is he quiet? He's not quiet. The man's giving the budget to the majority bloc. You say he's quiet? He's not quiet. The whole thing is masterminded. He doesn't have to speak. You don't have to talk to know that you're talking. He's not quiet. You know what he's doing. So everything he's doing is being calculated. They know what they're doing with that people. So he's not quiet. He's playing his game. He's playing his card. He knows how to dance in this mod. He's been in this mod for 43 years. He knows how to play. So he's putting his time behind pretending he's quiet. He's not quiet. Now, it's just Weah. Is that going to get any? If that's Jim Just Weah goes to Atlantic Kofi is trying to help him, is that going to give anything to CDC? I don't believe so. Because the same CDC, when they were in power, they were the same one who used kangaroo legislation procedures to remove Justice Kabila Jane. So now that they're the one who have the leverage and have these clean hands to come and say, oh, I'm going to bring peace, I don't see it. Like people are going to say, oh, Just Weah was able. Because for Unity Party, this is not a problem. Because for them, this problem is going to be solved. After the Supreme Court issues tomorrow, they will find a way. Even if it means doing more than what they do, they will keep doing it until they can get speaker. So for me, I don't believe Kofi is going to come back. He can do everything he's doing. He's just kicking the can down the road. He's bringing everything from in the process to be able to throw it out there. But at the end of the day, Unity Party will have their day. They will have their speaker. So we just push. We just go. It's just a matter of days, time. We just delay. By the end of the day, it's good. That thing is already set. The people had their quote-unquote election. They took a Kun. The Unity Party, this government already recognized Kun. So no matter what Kofi Kam does, he's not going to come back. He might just stand up to what we say. All we're saying is that Kofi was one speaker who stood up, who stand his ground. He was not pushed. He went to call. Yeah, and he wants to get that. His kids tomorrow will say, oh, my dad stood up. And people didn't respond. But at the end of the day, we're just pushing the can down the road. And at the end of the day, it was
okay, but Father Washington, let me ask you this. Do you think there will be some reactionary after this? There may be some retaliatory actions after, even though they might have their way. But what is coming down the road? Don't you think there will be something else down the road?
From who? As in what, sanctions? From the minority, the so-called minority group.
No, I don't see.
You don't think there would be some retaliation because you forcibly, as far as they're concerned, you illegally did something. You don't think later on there's going to be some retaliatory or reactionary?
When they follow what they call their due process, the majority of the bloc going to join them, and then when they join them, then they will start to play their own game now, trying to remove the next speaker. But they will go join them later on.
But let me ask you the Father or Gabe. Let me bring it up, Gabe. So Father is saying that there is an unbreakable, or there seems to be an unbreakable cohesion within the UP camp, and it could be right. But so why are they hold up in the hotel? Why don't they go home? If they're so, what are they afraid of? Are they afraid that this cohesion could shatter if they left to go home and go to their families? Why are they in a hotel? Also, there are rumors that this president attempted to have walked from 9th Street to the Capitol building with an attempt to tell them how much the people are upset with them by bringing out the people. Today, he wanted to pull the crowd. I think he was advised against doing that, but I don't think he's given up on that. So there may be other way to exert the pressure and break this perceived cohesion. What do you think, Gabe?
So this is what I think. I think the first of all, I will say this: the reason why they don't want to leave and go back to their homes is, again, I said this earlier, when there's money involved, if I pay you to do something, and I have to make sure I keep a tight grip on you that you don't double dip, right? You don't come, I don't pay you to do something, you know, and then you go back to your home and the other person come in and say, I got a higher bid, Mr. Nagbe. You know what? It happens. At this point, you took money from
So if
somebody.
if the glue is not ideological, if it is financial, I mean, how difficult would that be to break the glue?
That's what I'm saying. That's their
Yeah.
strategy. That's the reason why I believe and they understand that. And I think I agree. This is why I agree with the father that it's not quote unquote unbreakable, but they're keeping a tight grip on the card that they're playing. And for me, I don't. I would say this. It become repetitive, and I think
Let me
someone
show
said
you
it here.
this as you're trying to unpack your thought, Gabe. I will listen to Yega Kuluba, and sometimes I listen to him, and somebody believing or don't. But he was saying that he knows because he was with some of these people that when they go in the hotel, they take their phones away from them. Now I don't know how true this is. So figure that out. I mean, why are these people under such a bondage?
Again, it goes back to what I said. If these people are left to their free will, where they're allowed to have their phones, and there will be a lot of information leaking out of those rooms. This is why they're taking, and they understand that in our body of politics, money, bribery happen, and the reason why it happens to this level is because unlike other democracy where you can track it, you can case of what is it, Senator Melendez here in the U.S. who took money, took bribe.
Hey,
It took
hey,
time,
isn't it?
months,
Hey,
right?
that's my state. That's my state. Take it easy.
It took time for them to catch him. Over here in Liberia, we can't track it. So the only way to do that is to make sure you keep a tight grip. You give them money, you keep a tight grip, you make sure nobody brings a phone in there. But the thing I think that we keep saying here is that I don't think we are learning from our mistakes. I think from those of you that alluded to this earlier, it happened to Speaker Tyler, I think somebody else, and yet then still nobody was able to take the time to say, okay, these things are happening to our democracy. How do we amend the constitution? In as much that this is, let's say, perfect case, the president right now, he has the ability to do that, to say, you know what, I have the ability to get rid of the speaker. But if he really cared about our democracy enough, he could go against that, to say it happened to these speakers before. Let's amend this constitution to make sure no one is able to inject this kind of money into politics again. We instill some kind of how do you want to call it? Reporting some kind of law in our constitution that if you see somebody paying money for bribe to remove people, you report it and people to investigate it. Two, if the other case was that because there was no nothing in the constitution that allowed them to stay in the chamber to do that, they were able to go to the hotel room. All of these things can be changed in the constitution. Change that if anyone is looking to remove a speaker, all of those things happen in the chamber. We've done it. This is the third speaker who has been removed in that predicament, right? Yet still, no one has been able. We have senators, representatives to say, let's put forth a bill that will amend the constitution. I don't know if this is how it's supposed to go, but to amend the constitution to say this cannot happen, this cannot happen, this cannot happen. Now, I'm sure they will circumvent that. But again, this is how you grow. This is how you build your democracy. People will bend the rules, but when they bend it, you find the loopholes, you plug it, you fix it. And they will come by again, they will find another loophole. When you find it, they bring it to expose it, you fix it, you continue to grow. It's a living, breathing document. So the fact that this has happened 3 times and we have yet to do anything, if nobody step up to do anything, this will be a age-old problem we'll continue to deal with. The next president who will come in, if he doesn't like the speaker, he will do cash violence. The next president that comes in, he doesn't like the speaker, he will do the same thing. So at this point, somebody need to step up as a senator or as a representative, put forth a bill, amend the Constitution for some of these loopholes that are being exploited. Yeah.
Doom and gloom. Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much. We have about 2 minutes left on the clock, so we'll take 30 seconds each, and I mean 30 seconds, Jimmy. 30 seconds. Let's go around and do our closing. I want to thank you very much. Any of the topics, you know, either the president's involvement with this case as alleged by Councilor Gongloe, or the U.S. ambassador visiting the former president, you know, or what the Supreme Court is about to do on tomorrow. Any of those, just please take 30 seconds. Starting with you, Jimmy.
Okay, like I said, the Supreme Court will be limited with what they can do, and they will not be able to resolve this. So what is excuse me, what this was going to result into, it's a crack in the armor. It's going to lead to the illegitimacy of the entire administration. That's how these things turn out, and that's my word on it.
Thank you, Jimmy. Father Washington.
Yeah, I think it's been a great show. I'm glad that we'll be here to, share our thoughts and provide some education. But a country where somebody can get $50,000, go in your community, or go to a place where you used to live, your back live here before you go and collect people for back live, bring them to your district, in Monrovia, District 12, and let all of them vote for you. So you become a representative. Then you save some lasting money, go in the house, pay some people, they make you speaker. That's the country we have. How is it going to change? And so at the end of the day, we wonder what kind of democracy that is. And and I like the point you made. So people can say, "Oh, you're moving Speaker Poker far about money," but the argument too will say, like, "But how did he get there in the first place?"
Yeah,
exactly.
Thank you, Father. Gib, you're closing.
I will be unorthodox here. I would say to the CDC people, you guys have a dog. You're like a dog right now with the biggest bone in his hand right now. You have the biggest ploy right now from what is happening in our body of politics. If you can leverage that, you will buy yourself some political capital in the next 4 or 5 years. If you can take advantage of that, and I think both sides are throwing. The current administration has thrown you that bone. Just buy every meat you can get off of it, and if you want, you can take the bone home and lick on it as you go along. So this is an opportunity for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gib. Thank you, gentlemen. Great show tonight. Great input. As you always bring the intelligence and the political insight. So I will close by eating my own words. I think on Friday or Thursday or so, I sat on this network, and in my frustration, I believe I said something along the line. Most of the people in the Capitol building don't even read the Constitution. They're so uneducated. I think that was along those lines. I think that was reckless on my part, and I'd like to take that back. I apologize to our brothers and sisters at the Capitol building. We're just frustrated that they can't seem to find a way to do the right thing. But they're very educated people in their own right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think we'll be back here, if I'm not mistaken, on Thursday night and also Friday. Thursday night will also be Between the Headlines. Friday will be Friday night debate, and Sunday, I believe at 4 o'clock, will be On Point. So until we meet again, thank you very much. It's been a great night.
Thank you.
We all be right.